Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about The Crew 2 beta and my impressions on it. I'll go a little bit into the history of the original The Crew game, because it's a kind of an old game. I think it came out back in 2014, so some people are not familiar with the original title. I'll tell you what I think of this new style, all of these new vehicles, because they've added a lot of new vehicle types. I'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll give you like just overall my takes on the whole thing. This closed beta, it's pretty short. It lets you do a couple of hours with each type of vehicle. Let me talk about the original game, because this is very different. Now, this game, The Crew 1 and 2, is kind of analogous to, well, what I'm assuming this is like, from my impressions of the beta, this is what I'm assuming it's going to be. The difference between The Crew 1 and The Crew 2 is analogous to the difference between Watch Dogs 1 and Watch Dogs 2. And you're probably asking yourself, why am I saying that? It's because the original Crew game that came out back in 2014, it was heavily focused on narrative. So they tried to make this very emotional kind of plot. They made a lot of characters that they believed that you would feel attached to, and that was the original The Crew game. And basically you would race, and it's kind of like instead of an action game with cutscenes, it's like this is a racing game with cutscenes, kind of like. The Crew was kind of like Need for Speed The Run. The Crew offered a lot of online capabilities, competitions, that kind of stuff, so that you could beat your friends, all of that kind of stuff. But the original Crew, it had, yeah, the campaign, the storyline mode, it had this kind of story, and a lot of people found it to be cheesy and unrealistic, because, you know, it's almost like kind of like a lower budget version of a Fast and Furious movie. Like, Fast and Furious is good, but I mean, this was like a worse version of it. Some games have done it well, though, like Need for Speed Underground. It had a very minimalist story, but it wasn't so bad. But The Crew, yeah, a lot of people found the story to be cheesy and, you know, just kind of weird. It's just about you getting revenge on some guy who kind of did some bad things to you. Even I don't remember the plot too much, because it wasn't very memorable. It wasn't anything new. But The Crew, it tried to differentiate itself because it was online only, and that was actually something that Need for Speed back in 2016, they would copy. I think 2016 or 2015, that Need for Speed game, they would copy The Crew's online only mechanics, and I think it was kind of shitty too, because when I was playing it, you couldn't pause the game, so like it wouldn't separate campaign mode and the online mode. Basically, I think that you could encounter random people out in the world, all of that like kind of stuff. But it's a lot of stuff that, you know, people who enjoy racing games, they might not always want that. Yeah, it's fun. They're trying to push technology with this particular genre. But I don't think it was something that a lot of people cared for, especially, yeah, the narrative and all that. Like, people didn't like that too much. I don't think The Crew was okay, but I didn't think it was extremely successful, so that's why I was kind of surprised that it was getting a sequel that's going to be coming out soon. But overall, the original Crew, it was fun, but it had problems as well. I don't... Yeah, no, it had... At first, the DLC wasn't so bad. It actually did have kind of DLC that was kind of like expansion packs, so it wasn't too bad. But I think as it went on, they started getting more and more like finicky, like, you know, buy individual cars for money and that kind of stuff, which is kind of weird. See, my view on DLC is that it should be kind of like The Witcher, you know, how they did it. Like, a DLC should be a nice expansion pack, not really just not just individual cars and stuff, though I guess I can always ignore it. But in the end, I don't think it's good, because I feel like they are just taking out cars that would have originally been in the game and putting it as DLC. And I'll talk about that later when it comes to the beta. But I played, yeah, this Crew 2 beta, and I know that, I don't know, like, I feel like if it was... I feel like the game, The Crew 2, I mean, I don't think it's confirmed yet or not, but I don't think it's going to have, like, a crazy storyline like the first game. That's why I say it's going to be like how the difference between Watch Dogs 1 and 2, which is also another title that Ubisoft published. It's kind of like that. Now they're going for a wacky kind of game. They're going for, like, a crazy, like, oh, have fun, who cares what happens kind of game. Like, they're dropping the crazy narrative storyline that had been present in the original game. And you know, you can actually find The Crew 2. If you want me to compare it to something, it's kind of comparable to the Forza Horizon series. which is just a game where you explore an open world and you just have a whole bunch of different vehicles, and you're just having a lot of fun exploring different environments. It's not meant to be like a simulation kind of racing game. It's kind of more like an arcadey game, though they do often have the ability for you to customize your cars, like the engine and like all of the settings inside your vehicle. So that's one of the biggest changes. It has a really different aesthetic, but I actually kind of liked Forza Horizon. Now, bear in mind, nowadays you don't really get too many racing games. The only big racing IPs nowadays are Gran Turismo, which also Gran Turismo wasn't really. It was dead for a while until Sport came out, but otherwise, they're actually very slow publishers. So that's one big IP. The other ones are Forza Motorsport, and then Forza Horizon, and there's also Dirt. There's also a lot of little IPs, but they still have really good racing in them, like Assetto Corsa. That was also another really good game, and yeah, Project Cars is also another really good racing IP as well. But you can kind of see nowadays that racing has actually been split into a dichotomy. You have the hardcore racing simulators where you have to tweak your car like all over the place, and just one mistake will make you like crash and lose the whole race and even cost you money. And then you have the other games where it's an arcade kind of racing simulation, and with these arcade sims, you can crash into the wall, nothing happens, no punishment, that kind of thing. And yeah, like you can see that this game, it tries to be like what I just said, like more of an arcade kind of game. You can crash, you can just like go boom, and it's just having a lot of fun. It's not meant to be like realistic. It's not meant to have crazy car collisions or anything like that. And the days of crazy car collisions has kind of been dropped since the car manufacturers are scared that their product will look bad if you make their cars crash poorly. So I mean, that's a sad truth. So let me talk about this beta. This beta lets you try a little bit of different types of vehicles. So I believe we did have like street racing and off-road racing before in the original Crew game, but now we actually have boat racing and plane stunt driving. So it's actually kind of crazy nowadays. Like they're trying to do a lot of stuff. Now some might argue this is a mishmash of different things. I might kind of agree with you, depending on how much work they put into the boat and the stunt planes. Like I don't want them to take away from the other, like the actual main kind of street racing and racing with cars, I should say. I don't want them to take away from that. So what I'm saying is that if they put too much effort into these other types of vehicles, I might not like that too much. But you have to admit, it is kind of original. You don't really see like boat racing games or anything like that, and you don't really see stunt flying games either. So I mean, it is a welcome change. I just hope it doesn't take away from the rest of the game because of how crazy and wacky it's trying to be. Street racing is pretty much the same as it was before. I can't really touch much upon that. The graphics are really good. Same with off-road racing. Well, I guess with the off-road racing, it tries to be more wild. I noticed that when I was doing these off-road races in this game, yeah, I think that there is a lot of. It's like, go from this point to another point. Like in the street racing, they give you like little checkpoints between each part of the race. But in off-road, these checkpoints are more spaced apart. So it's like go from one part of the country to another part of the country. Well, maybe not that big, but it's going through a whole bunch of open roads, and you can choose whatever path you want, and you can go crazy with it. And I actually like that. The off-road racing is really fun. The graphics are decent. I played it on Ultra with my PC, 60 frames per second, and it looks really gorgeous, honestly. I like it. But the physics isn't the most realistic, but it tries to be fun. It's not like hard physics. It's not the kind of physics that will screw you over. Like it tries to. You can see it's arcadey, and it's trying to be a fun game, not realistic. Your car can go speeding so fast, and in the beta, yeah, like in the off-road sections, there were so many ramps and turns and jumps, and it was just so much fun to do that. So I think that I'll like off-road racing more in this sequel than the original game. Now I have some complaints. The boat racing was fun, but the boat physics, it's not fun. The way the boats work is that if you turn, you lose a lot of speed, and it's almost like exponentially. Like if you do a turn, you'll like lose your speed exponentially. And the way to win these boat races is to actually is to turn very slowly, like to just barely took, like if you have a wheel, a racing wheel, or if you have an analog stick, you just tilt it slightly whenever you want to turn, and that's the way you win these races. It's actually kind of boring. The wave physics is not perfect. It doesn't look realistic. Sometimes it looks like globs. It's like a toddler playing underneath a rug that has not been sealed off. You know what I mean? Like playing with toys underneath the rug. I used to do that as a kid. Like rip open the rugs, and my parents would get pissed. But that's what the physics looks like. It looks like someone is like playing with stuff underneath your rug, and like it kind of looks goopy, and it doesn't actually look like real waves. It doesn't feel like real waves when you're jumping over them either. But they are being ambitious with something new, because again, boat racing is not something that has been expanded upon recently. The thing is, yeah, I don't like. Sometimes you can get unlucky with the boat races. I don't know how that'll work in the main game, because you can get unlucky. If you run into some bad ripples, you'll lose speed a lot. One thing I hate is that, yeah, if you take any of the ramps in the boat races, so when you're doing these boat races, you'll see a lot of ramps that you can just jump over and that kind of stuff. But you'll end up losing a lot of speed if you do that, so it's actually better to just avoid ramps and just to play safely when you're doing the boat races, which is kind of sad. But I mean, I guess maybe the boat races does need a bit more tweaking to be perfected. It is the first of its kind, and again, in a while, like I haven't really seen anything like that. But it sucks because, yeah, I mean, I feel like I can't have as much fun when I'm doing the boat races as I should be having. The last new type is, well, at least the last new type that was in the beta that we could try was the stunt driving with a plane, I should say. It's not really a race, though there was actually, I feel like there was a plane race in the very beginning, but I think maybe it was more like a time trial. But anyways, most of the planes that you'll use, you'll be doing stunts with in the beta, and it'll let you do a lot of fun things. You'll get these orders, a list of things that you need to, tricks that you need to do with the plane, and most of it was like, oh, do a barrel roll, do a loop-de-loop, fly as low as possible, fly like tilted on a certain angle, this kind of stuff. So it's fun. But the thing is, I can see that can get kind of tiring after a while. Now it is amazing because again, I don't really see too many like plain kind of stunt games, and it is interesting because it is ambitious. They have to render all these clouds. It's not like a racing game where they're just rendering the streets and they don't have to render the tops of the buildings. Like now they actually have to show all of the tops of the buildings, clouds, all of that crazy stuff. The physics is really cartoony, so if you like, you know, oh, crash your plane, you'll just respawn. It's not meant to be punishing or anything like that. But the thing is, after a while, you can only do, I think there's maybe 10 possible kinds of plane tricks and stunts that you can do. And after a while, it does get kind of boring. I think you'll master it very quickly, but otherwise, I mean, it's kind of gimmicky. But it is ambitious, though. Like, I will say that. I guess it would be really cool if they do end up implementing time trials throughout for the plane racing, like where you fly through these checkpoints. That might be more fun, I think. I didn't really find the stunt racing to be too much fun. So overall, like the beta, it really doesn't take too long for you to get, but I still like it because it gives you the opportunity to try a little bit of everything in the game. But yeah, overall, from the way that they presented the game so far, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a crazy narrative or anything. It seems to be more like a multiplayer-focused game. They're going to keep the online interactivity and stuff like that, I would assume. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll let you pause if you're playing single player. I think nowadays, the modern game releases, they try to separate the single player and the multiplayer like that. I know the newest Need for Speed game, yeah, that's what they did. They let you play single player with the pause function offline if you wanted to do that. But overall from the aesthetics, I really do think they're gonna try to be wacky and crazy, and again, it's a marketing technique. Maybe it'll work out well for them, because I don't think the original game, I think it did okay, but I don't believe it did exceptionally. And again, as I said before, I think that's why I was really surprised myself when they got a sequel, when they announced a sequel, because I know the game originally, it wasn't like the best game out there. It didn't sell amazingly well, kind of like the original Watch Dogs. But yeah, like, it looks like they're going for, like, make your own avatar kind of game. So, like, you don't have a unique character, that kind of stuff. It's all focused. It's one of those kinds of games. But it's not a bad thing, because, I mean, the storyline before, it wasn't really that good. I mean, I always do like having cutscenes in a single-player racing game. I don't mind if there's, like, cutscenes and stuff. If there's a little bit of story, like, I don't mind that. But the thing is now, yeah, you're gonna get a generic character that you'll be playing as, this kind of stuff. Overall, though, I mean, I think they're being really, really ambitious with all these new vehicle types, but I don't know if all of these new vehicle types, if it's gonna make for an amazing game. I think that most people will be playing the game for the regular kind of, the vanilla kind of races you'd see in any typical racing game, like the street racing and off-road racing. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see how those other race types will be. I mean, I don't think they're going to be, like, that bad or anything. But, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll wait and see. Yeah, I mean, it really does seem like it's trying to be an even more wacky version of Forza Horizon. Because Forza Horizon has kind of been getting tiring, because they have been doing the same thing over and over again for the last 3 games. So I wonder if Forza Horizon 4, because that's going to get announced eventually, I wonder if that Forza Horizon 4 is going to have anything wacky to compensate, because, I mean, there's other people that are trying to be wacky like that too. Forza Horizon used to be unique because it was one of the only games that tried to market itself as being so wacky and crazy, So I guess we'll wait and see how it turns out. But overall for the Crew 2 beta, I think I'm liking what I see so far. Of course, as you see in this review, I had a lot of in these impressions, I had a lot of criticisms with the game. And again, I think that maybe, hopefully, they'll polish them out. But you know how Ubisoft games release nowadays, so like how many bugs they have when they release. But I mean, overall, I think I'm liking what I see, and they are trying hard, and they are trying to learn from their mistakes from the original game. So overall, I think I like the beta so far. I think I'm gonna get this game, especially if you like racing games. If you like racing games, you're probably really starved for games too, because I mean, a racing game, I feel like you only get one good racing game every quarter or every 2 quarters of the year. Anyways, if you enjoyed watching the content in this video, please consider giving our video a like. Also, please consider subscribing to our channel so that you can be the first to receive all of our latest videos.